This is the early edition, a curated weekday guide to major news and developments over the past 24 hours. Curated by Lizzie Jennings and read by an automated voice. Published February 18th, 2026 on Just Security, an essential resource for those shaping a just and secure world. Here's today's news. Iran. Indirect talks between the United States and Iran held yesterday in Geneva ended with an agreement on a set of guiding principles, according to Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. He added that both sides had agreed to exchange drafts on a potential deal. 3 Iranian officials said that Iran had indicated willingness to suspend nuclear enrichment for 3 to 5 years, and then to join a regional consortium for civilian-grade enrichment. In exchange, Iran demanded that Washington lift financial and banking sanctions and the embargo on its oil sales. A U.S. official said that the Iranians would provide more detailed proposals in the next 2 weeks, but did not provide any specifics. Aaron Boxerman, Erica Solomon, and Nick Cumming-Bruce report for the New York Times. Vice President J.D. Vance said yesterday that Iran had failed to acknowledge core U.S. demands during yesterday's talks. Vance told reporters that the talks had not yielded any breakthrough, adding that military action against Iran remained an option. In some ways, it went well. They agreed to meet afterwards. But in other ways, it was very clear that the president has set some red lines that the Iranians are not yet willing to actually acknowledge, Vance said. Lawrence Norman and Benoit Faucon report for The Wall Street Journal. Russia-Ukraine war. Following the first day of talks in Geneva, Ukrainian, Russian, and U.S. negotiators offered no public signs of progress. The negotiations were expected to focus on Ukrainian territory in eastern Ukraine that Moscow wants under its control as a price for ending the war. Kyiv has said this demand is a non-starter. The talks are expected to continue today. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told Axios yesterday that the Ukrainian people would reject a peace deal that involves Ukraine unilaterally withdrawing from the eastern Donbas region and turning it over to Russia. During an interview, Zelensky also said that it was not fair that President Trump kept calling on Ukraine, not Russia, to make concessions for peace. Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire. The Lebanese government said on Monday that the army will need at least 4 months to complete the second phase of its nationwide disarmament plan. Hezbollah yesterday rejected the plan, calling it a mistake that serves Israeli interests. Layla Bassam and Tala Ramadan report for Reuters. Other global developments. Peru's Congress yesterday voted 75-24 to remove interim President José Jerry from office. Jerry is under a preliminary investigation into corruption and influence peddling, stemming from a series of undisclosed meetings with 2 Chinese executives. Franklin Viceno and Manuel Rueda report for AP News. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet told Reuters yesterday that Thai forces are still occupying Cambodian territory after fighting last year, despite a peace accord between the nations, and a ceasefire reached on December 27th. Hun Manet said Thai troops had laid shipping containers and barbed wire inside Cambodian territory, and that residents are unable to return home. Thailand has said it is maintaining troop positions as part of de-escalation measures, and has denied it is occupying territory. Poland has barred Chinese-made vehicles from entering military facilities due to concerns that their onboard sensors could be used to collect sensitive data, the Polish army said yesterday. Barbara Erling reports for Reuters. The head of the State Department's Bureau of Arms Control and Nonproliferation, Christopher Ya, yesterday disclosed new details to support its claim that China conducted an underground nuclear explosion in 2020 in the western Xinjiang region. The United States used seismic data captured by a facility in Kazakhstan to conclude that China had conducted the explosive nuclear test, Ya said. The Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organizations, an international body, said yesterday that it detected two very small seismic events, 12 seconds apart, in the time period described by Ya, but that they were too small to assess the cause of these events with confidence. Adam Taylor and Kate Cadell report for The Washington Post. A panel of independent experts appointed by the UN Human Rights Council said on Monday that the recently released documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein suggest the existence of a global criminal enterprise that carried out acts that may reasonably meet the legal threshold of crimes against humanity. Jasper Ward reports for Reuters. Tech developments. Meta yesterday announced its plan to spend billions of dollars on millions of NVIDIA's AI chips in a multi-year deal. This deal comes amid announcements from Google, Amazon, and Microsoft in recent months that they have developed new in-house chips. A source said that Meta's own in-house chip strategy had suffered some technical challenges and rollout delays. Michael Action and Hannah Murphy report for the Financial Times. Researchers from Johns Hopkins, Oxford, Stanford, Columbia, and NYU are calling for guardrails on certain infectious disease datasets that could enable AI to design deadly viruses. The international group of researchers has endorsed a framework to govern certain biological data, saying that responsible governance and scientific progress are not contradictions. U.S. Caribbean and Pacific operations. The U.S. military killed at least 11 men in strikes in both the Eastern Pacific and the Caribbean Sea overnight on Monday, according to U.S. Southern Command. 8 of those killed were on 2 boats in the Pacific, and 3 were in the Caribbean. Carol Rosenberg reports for the New York Times. The United States has indicted Avtandil Kalandadze, captain of the oil tanker formerly known as the Bella One, on charges of falsely flying a Guyanese flag and refusing to comply with a U.S. Coast Guard order during a weeks-long chase in the Atlantic, which concluded last month. Nicholas Nehamas, Seamus Hughes, and Christiane Tribert report for the New York Times. U.S. Foreign Affairs. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said yesterday that Ottawa's new Buy Canadian defense strategy is aimed at reducing Canada's reliance on the United States. There are many strengths to this partnership that we have with the United States, but it is a dependency, Carney said, adding that Canada must expand its domestic defense industrial base so we are never hostage to the decisions of others when it comes to our security. Mike Blanchfield reports for Politico. Belgian Foreign Minister Maxime Prévost summoned the U.S. ambassador to Belgium, Bill White, to a meeting yesterday over his comments accusing Belgium of anti-Semitism. White on Monday criticized Belgium's handling of a case in Antwerp, where 3 Mohels, Jewish men who perform ritual circumcision, were placed under judicial investigation for allegedly carrying out procedures without a doctor present. Personal attacks against a Belgian minister and interference in judicial matters violate basic diplomatic norms, Prévost said. Gina Smilek and Koba Reikewart report for the New York Times. U.S. immigration developments. The FBI and St. Paul Police Department are investigating allegations that ICE officers severely beat Mexican citizen Alberto Castañeda Mondragon during a January arrest in Minneapolis, causing 8 skull fractures that doctors say are inconsistent with ICE's claim that he injured himself by falling while trying to flee. Jim Mustian, Michael Biesecker, and Jack Brooke report for AP News. An immigration judge has blocked the Trump administration from deporting Mohsen Mahdawi, a Palestinian graduate who led protests at Columbia University against the war in Gaza. The judge said she terminated the case due to a procedural misstep by the Justice Department, which failed to certify an official document it intended to use as evidence. Jake Offenhartz reports for AP News. ICE officials knew as early as March 2025 that officers were using more force against civilians and targets of their immigration enforcement operations than under previous administrations, according to internal emails. Caleb Vitello, an official overseeing ICE field and enforcement operations, was informed on March 20, 2025, that ICE officers had reported 67 incidents in which they had used force since January. This was nearly a four-fold increase from the same timeframe in 2024. Eric Bazale-Imel reports for Politico. U.S. domestic developments. Stephen Colbert said on his late-night show on Monday that his network, CBS, had barred him from airing an interview with State Representative James Tallarico, Democrat, Texas, a Democratic candidate in the Texas U.S. Senate race, because of new guidance from the Federal Communications Commission about equal airtime for political candidates. John Coblin reports for The New York Times. Trump administration actions. Homeland Security Department spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin announced yesterday that she is leaving her role next week. Sources said that McLaughlin had begun planning to leave DHS in December, but extended her stay to help the administration deal with the fallout of the fatal shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minneapolis. Daniel Lippman and Adam Wren report for Politico. David Nakamura and Isaac Arndorf report for The Washington Post. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth directed Army Secretary Dan Driscoll to fire Colonel David Butler during a discussion at the Pentagon last week, defense officials said. It was at least the second time that Hegseth had raised the issue with Driscoll. Butler had been nominated for a promotion to brigadier general, but Hegseth took issue with the plan for reasons that remain unclear, officials said. Butler has now submitted his retirement paperwork. Dan Lamothe reports for The Washington Post. Christian nationalist pastor Doug Wilson spoke yesterday at the Pentagon's monthly worship service, according to a Defense Department social media post. Wilson has called for a return to patriarchal values and the removal of the right to vote from women. The Pentagon press secretary did not address questions about the pastor's views on women, but said Secretary Hegseth, along with millions of Americans, is a proud Christian and was glad to welcome Pastor Wilson to the Pentagon today. Cameron Adams reports for the Daily Beast. Trump administration litigation. A federal judge said yesterday that ICE cannot re-detain Kilmar Abrego Garcia because a 90-day detention period has expired, and the government has no viable plan for deporting him. The government has made one empty threat after another to remove him to countries in Africa with no real chance of success, the judge said. Travis Lawler reports for AP News. The National Parks Conservation Association and several other organizations filed a lawsuit yesterday challenging Trump's March 2025 executive order on restoring truth and sanity to American history, which ordered the removal of corrosive ideology from national parks. Cheyenne M. Daniels reports for Politico. Thank you for listening to Just Security's Early Edition today, February 18, 2026. If you enjoy listening, Just Security's analytic articles are also available in audio form on the justsecurity.org website. To stay up to date on Just Security's analysis of law, policy, and current events, go to justsecurity.org, subscribe to Just Security on Substack, and follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.